High vibrations, sweet babies. Oh my goodness. I have not been able to pull cards for a couple of days now with just all the personal things that I'm experiencing right now. Do pardon me if I'm not in the same sort of mood that I usually show up in, and if I get emotional, bear with me. I am very raw, very real with the way that I show up on here, and these are all completely unedited. I usually record them ahead of time and then post them around the time of what I'm talking about, but today is actually 3/3, and I'm going to be kind of just shedding some light on what this portal is for us, but it doesn't necessarily have to be around 3/3 when you're listening to this. You could always find yourself drawn to this message at a later date and kind of just look back and see where you were at around this time and what you were experiencing, what you were feeling into. So I personally, like I said, have been going through quite a bit of things, and I just felt like the topic of ego death really wanted to come through. I'm definitely feeling what feels like an ego death, and with all of the astrological transits that we're going to have showing up throughout March, more specifically, we're going to have some eclipses, and we're also going to have a lot of Saturn, a lot of Aries influences. Hi, pup. And like I said, this reading is definitely going to be connecting with what I'm feeling into, because as always, like as a collective, we're usually in a similar boat and just going through similar waves, riding the waves all together. And so it seems like at the heart of this is the heart. This might have been something that was set off through the heart space, and definitely like a matter of the heart in some way and somehow. We kind of knew that there was going to be some shake, rattle, and roll around the time of Venus retrograde, which started yesterday, but with any retrograde, the planet goes through a shadow period and kind of does what it does. It starts to shift the energies. It starts to move the energies. I would say like usually a week. I don't know. I'm not really the person to give you like a real estimated time period for like a planet. I feel like a planet's gonna do what it's gonna do. So anyway, Venus showed up to really show us, to really show us what was needing healing under the surface. We had like a lot of things kind of leading us up to this moment, collective. My collective tends to have like similar placements within the chart, like maybe not directly a Sagittarius, but like some of our signs are similar, so like therefore we experience similar things during these astrological transits. And I would say from like the time of late October, mid-October to November, things started to shake, rattle, and roll. And then we had some really high vibrational portals, 11, 11, 12, 12, and in through the new year, we had a black moon. And these were really powerful times for us to kind of envision and embody what we really wanted to step into. But the calendar new year is not the same thing as the astrological new year. So, or like, the seasonal, I don't really know what you would call it, but like the springtime is sort of the new year because things are coming to life and there's a new fresh start happening. So depending on when you look at it, like we might feel like we're going through these sort of renewals or new beginnings or fresh starts pretty like consistently, like it's happening over and over and over again. And the way that I've been seeing it is like, we had those more high vibrational portals showing up for us. And we were getting a sense of like what we really wanted. We were really given this like groovy time to feel into what was really good for us. And this is like too spot on sometimes. I'm like, It's like direct symbols from what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing like in front of my very face. So this probably had a lot to do with how we felt in connection with other people and what we were striving for connections. But we also were making a lot of really big commitments to ourselves about how we wanted to show up in the world and what we wanted to see show up in our experiences. And then, we go through January and then into February. We had some influences. There's definitely some energetic influences that were piquing our curiosity to go a little bit deeper. Like Mars retrograde was definitely bringing up suppression. I'm kind of giving you like a backstory real quick in case you haven't been following along, but just think of me as like your Netflix binge recap. It's like last time in the shit show of the planets. Oh, the best way to just like smile through it, isn't it? Yikes, dude, what? These cards are crazy. It's always when I haven't pulled cards in a while. Holy that they're so crystal clear, because it's like my angels, ancestors, guides were like, girl, we have tea for you while you were busy crying and like doing your human gooey thing. Like, I have some important things to share with you, to get you right again. But yeah, so wow, I really do feel more like myself just sitting here and connecting with a little bit of the Ganja Goddess and my cards and my doggo. Yeah, you too. He was like, excuse me, don't forget. And so we had Mars retrograde, right? And it showed up with a lot of potency around things that were suppressed, things that were under the surface, and what we know about suppression. And I have a whole ass video on all of those transits if you do want to go back and listen to them. I often go back and like listen to some of the things that I record, because there'll be certain ones where I'm like, what did I say about that one thing? Mars retrograde was definitely showing us all that suppression. And when we know about suppression is that when you're pushing something down and creating that much pressure to keep something under the surface, eventually there is a point to which that pressure cannot be sustained, and what is under the surface will all come tumbling out. And this is why I really try my darndest to live by radical honesty. I'm a human being, and I've made mistakes in my past, and I know that, that's me to take full accountability for. And because of the way that I've seen dishonesty do harm and hurt other people, I do take radical honesty extremely seriously. For me, I just try to be transparent as possible and open and honest about, as much as I can be, without being, too just too much. It's just like there's like a point when your honesty becomes a little bit too exposing of I don't know if it's exposing of, that's not the word I'm looking for. What is it? It might feel exposing because you're oversharing, you're sharing things that don't need to be said, or you're sharing things that could be hurtful, without that discernment. And, I do struggle with a lot of impulsivity. People don't realize that about me because I have literally, for my own sanity and safety, had to create so much discipline for myself. And I have to say that I did this for myself. This was not, besides the older generations, it was not exactly something I had a lot of experience seeing people be extremely disciplined. There was a lot of scattered, chaotic, no clear schedule routine going on in my household. And 1212 is showing up here multiple times on the timestamp and then also in the cards. So discipline was something that was self-taught, and I really saw the results show up in my life. I want to say it was probably around 19 or 20 where I started to get very disciplined with myself, because honestly, I was really embarrassed. I was really embarrassed about just the unconscious way that I was showing up and not realizing how much clutter I had really going on in my mind, body, and spirit. And it was not only affecting me, but it affected other people too. And that was, a hard pill to swallow. That's been a phrase that's showing up quite a bit. And it's also a skill that I have to practice every day of my life. And I wish that wasn't the case, but understanding that I have ADHD has really given me a little bit more compassion with myself about that question mark, because it really sucks, to be honest, to have to sometimes backpedal because of the way that your mouth just gets ahead of you. And even though you're coming from truly just a genuine, authentic, honest place, not trying to be hurtful or harmful, it's just when your mouth is moving faster than your brain sometimes, I'm feeling this pull to slow down. You say things in a way that just come off unpleasant. I'm well aware of this about myself, and I really am doing my best and taking even more extra measures as of late to really be discerning. And I think that's the message of wanting to come through, right? Because we're talking about ego death right now, overall, this energy and this reading. And for me, I think a lot of I wouldn't even say like that's the ego death, but it's definitely attached to the ego that's dying. And but you know what we always say over here, like death is literally rebirth. Like they are the two halves of the same coin. And I know that in this ego death like comes a new version of myself. And it's a little scary because I don't know her. I don't really know who she is exactly yet. Like, she still has to get comfortable in this space, right? And I'm, like, not going to be someone else, but, like, take on a whole new identity or anything. But in a way, this eclipse season, under these eclipses that we're going to have for the next month here, it is going to feel like a new, refresh, almost reborn version of yourself is going to show up. I was really feeling like I needed to pull away and distance myself, because I could feel like a lot of things under the surface needing to be worked through and needing to be addressed, but the timing really just wasn't suitable for that. And unfortunately, I didn't listen to that instinct within myself. And, you know, it sucks sometimes when you're intuitive to like feel the feeling and have the intuition, but then no follow through, and you're like, oh man, like that was there for a reason. But I wanted to kind of pull away because I could feel the shedding of skins. And I was deeply feeling like I was going to have to grieve that, and that there would be this element of grief that needed to come through. And what I can absolutely tell you about grief with certainty is that it is powerful and it is unexpected, and it takes unbeknownst shape. For some reason, that's the word that wanted to come through. Like, grief is like this mystical mist that shows up, and it can take shape and form, and it can disperse, and it can densen, and it is like wild, like what grief can do to a person. We think we know what grieving looks like, but it's such a multifaceted type of feeling. And in my experience, it's a process. And I felt like I was going to need to kind of pull away and experience that process. And I still do feel like I need to do that. 57 is showing up, and let me tell you, I am doing a whole reading dedicated to this beautiful angel number that has been with me when I was going through my solar code experience, and like going through my 12/12 portal and everything. 57 is the number of miracles, believing in miracles. Now is your time, when you see 57, to believe that miracles can happen. Miracles do actually happen. In fact, they do. Like, you can look up miracles, things that are just inexplicable, and they happen. And there might be naysayers out there. There might be people who can try to dull it down to a science. And hey, I love science like as much as your next Einstein. But is Einstein even science? Clearly, I'm no Einstein. But 57 urges you to believe in those miracles, regardless of what the naysayers or the skeptics or the over-analytics want to tell you, because unfortunately, miracles exist. They're wrong. Unfortunately, they have to be wrong about that one. And I have a stack of cards here that want to just be read through. I don't know if you are also oracles and you like to pull cards and everything. If you sometimes have this experience where you open up your deck and you shuffle, and at the bottom of the deck starts a story, and it literally reads the story to you the entire way that it shuffled all the way through. Those are some of my most beautiful and transformative readings. But anyway, naysayers is the word that wants to come through. It's like there's a lot of people that want to cast doubt on miracles, and I don't fuck with that, quite frankly. So the cards are asking right now for protection of energy, and that's exactly what I mean. It's like I wanted to pull away and give myself like a lot of space to be creative, because I've had all these really creative fucking urges showing up. Like I wanted to just pour into my artistic endeavors more than ever. And I feel like I did a lot of really powerful like tantric womb healing over the last couple of years, so that I could really be able to put more of myself into creation and like what I was creating artistically. So that's what I've been really feeling into over the last month of February. And I felt like, part of that was I needed to pull away and protect my own energy so that I could really go through that process of shedding skins, understanding, because what happens with shedding skin is that like you get a whole perspective on the self you were wearing before. Like you're now like a snake shedding its skin. Like you can see it in a whole new perspective, in a whole new light, and that can be creepy as like imagine seeing a doppelganger of yourself. Like I don't know how I would handle that, to be honest. I guess I could just ask a twin and they'd tell you that you'll get over it. But ultimately, it's this whole new perspective on the self that you were once attached to. The ego had this attachment to this idea of who you were and this version of who you claim to be. And maybe there's parts of it that are still true, but they can change. 22 on the timestamp. I'm gonna urge you to go listen to the shadow reading that I did, which had beautiful bald eagle medicine, like direct connection to spirit, mystical, beautiful healing energy, all within that video. Please, please, if you're being called to like do shadow work, go do that in this beautiful time and space right now, but be prepared for it to be very big and very deep. There's a lot of depth to what's going on right now astrologically. So yeah, I wanted to partly pull away, protect my energy to go through that process, and also to protect others from going through that process, because I think there's a lot of ache and pain and difficulty in having to see yourself in a new light and accepting the parts that were not for your highest and greatest good, or at least acting for our highest and greatest good, right? Like that is it stings. It stings. And there's a lot of like maybe self-acceptance work that's needing to be done right now. In fact, when I was going for a ride earlier, having a difficult conversation, I pulled up to that part where I actually saw the eagle, and my gut is like still processing all of it. There were two swans that flew by, and I was really feeling into swan medicine, which was, really all about finding beauty in life and beauty being in the eye of the beholder, and really being able to see beauty in other, like all the forms, like in the classic story of like the ugly duckling, being a swan and all of that kind of stuff is like really the message of like, you decide what's beautiful, you decide where you want to see beauty in life, and also deciding to have self-love and self-compassion and seeing the beauty in who you are. And actually, one of like the very few channels that I really listen to outside of myself was actually speaking to that too as well, of just like being able to find beauty in your quirks. And when I had that experience with the swans, it really just affirmed that for me. I was like, oh yeah, okay, like I need to really give myself so much love and compassion as I shed this skin right now. And maybe there's this energy of like hurtful words and just tension in a relationship, definitely relationship strain, and this feeling of needing to protect your energy. Let me pull a couple more clarifiers out of this for you. $27 is also showing up right now. So cool thing about angel numbers is they all have a vibration, right? And so they, through numerology, and look at the time. Oh, timestamp. So they all have a message through the numerological. That doesn't sound like a word. Meaning, and then also, the sort of vibrational energy that they have meaning too. But I love to think of these numbers as ascension codes, and it's so interesting. 2757 timestamp, right? When I look at it, like I am only making those notes when I'm looking at the recording. Most of the time I'm like channeling and pulling like symbology from what I see around me, and obviously from the cards and my clarifiers. So when I'm seeing those codes, like specific ones, one after the other, like in weird places, unusual places, like I am very much, I am in connection with that on an often basis. That's how I've been. It's who I am. And I'm always going to have that kind of connection to spirit. And when I'm seeing these, like to me, like they're codes for when I'm going through a specific time, because it's not all the time, it's like when I have these transformative experiences, or I'm going through periods of change, or something drastically horrible happens, like you're still going to see ascension codes, because even if you're in a really low point, like that just was a catalyst or a set off for, you can only go up, right? Stirring the pot keeps wanting to come up. Frozen. 12, 12, 17. 17 is also a number I'm going to be doing a reading on shortly. Earth. I'm not sure. Oh my God, wow. Okay. God, 657 is also one that is huge. This time could be radio station, like honestly anything. I've seen it show up, like that sequence of numbers, so many times in the last couple of days, in the last couple of months. It's crazy. Like, what? 657. Okay, sure. Lots of 222, like lots of ascension codes. So anyways, it just means you're getting like a little vibrational tune-up. It's nothing crazy, like nothing too far-fetched. Just, when you're praying on things, when you're like asking for the divine to step in and raise you out of experiences that feel horrendous, lower than low, like you are going to feel the subtle shifts in your aura, in your spirit, in your mind, and this is that. So, definitely protecting your energy. 1212 is showing up, like I said before. This is urging us right now. And guess what else is on the card? 27. Another one coming through, double zeros, aka goose eggs. I don't know what that is, but every time I see 2 zeros, I'm like, oh, couple of goose eggs. And that's been coming through for me since October. I can't tell you. That was a new one for me. So I I see that in 27. So anyways, 27 twice on that card. You're going to be seeing a lot of affirmations, a lot of angel numbers, a lot of things that are symbolic to you. And there's going to be a lot of times when you don't want to sound crazy. You don't want to be that person who's like living in, that land of make-believe or be like spiritual bypassing. And I really respect that. But at the same time, like I said, if you are praying and wanting miracles or needing change or just asking for strength as you go through these shedding skins, why wouldn't you believe those signs? Like, then what are you praying to? What are you praying for? Like, it's showing up there because it's in response to you deciding to open and receive that. So, ooh. I'm needing a little more clarity around. So even when it feels really destructive and it feels really like you're dealing with something toxic or you're going through the same challenges over and over again, same cycles, it just feels like never ending, or sometimes it feels like something is ending, and feels like, there's been a stop to it. But like I said before, like if you have an ego death, there's always like a rebirth. So there's always like a renewal in some kind. But it feels like, why do I go through these specific challenges? Why am I repeating these same cycles? Why? And you right now going through those things and making the decision to work on your inner healing is prophesized for you. This is not me making these words up. This is what the cards say, okay? Make a decision to work on your inner healing. And this is going to help heal and work through the cycles that you are fated, to go through. Like, this is divined for you. And it's also karma. I hate to break it to you, but it's also karmic. So like you can try to like woe is me your way out of it, but at the end of the day, the scales will always be even. Justice has been showing up as a symbol. The justice card in tarot is represented by scales, and they're being about balance. Like karma is what keeps the world in balance. And sometimes we don't really like the idea of karma if we haven't been living in our highest and greatest good. But at the end of the day, sometimes even when we are living in our highest and great, well, we are giving it our best shot. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, like I am doing my best down here, you know? Like we're still human. And we're still bound to experience challenges because challenges are what help us grow and help us. What I'm seeing here is like, instead of this false confidence, instead of a false feeling of, it's like there's like a level of, it's part of this ego death. It's like you're seeing this persona that like you've been a part of and attached onto, right, for so long. And this part of you is going through this ego death. And now when you go through this cycle and you overcome this challenge that was literally prophesized for you, like you are going to be seeing a new, fuller version of yourself, and like true confidence and like true like self-assurance. And this is something that you feel like really aligned with and obligated towards, like by any means necessary. And that is a direct quote from my great-grandfather, who was a war hero. And I'm really so honored and grateful to be his granddaughter. There's the emotions. I told you they were going to show up. And he has shown up for me since, oh my goodness. Let me come back to this reading. Just the amount of him doing whatever was necessary to build a life, and build, you know, a possibility for my family is like really what's been driving me forward lately. And you know, I just think right now I'm being really urged to share with you, like, you are on your exact journey. 17 is showing up to show us this. And this was a journey that was like laid out for you like the moment you were born, and it's like interesting because I feel like, wow, look at, oh my gosh, it's 2:17 as I tell you this. I cannot make this shit up, bro. This is wild. So I'm feeling this urge to tell you to go look at your birth chart for whatever reason. I feel like most of my collective here is probably familiar with their birth chart, but I don't know. If you haven't looked at it in a while, go refamiliarize yourself with it, and just maybe at least come to a deeper appreciation for the fact that you are experiencing all of these shifts in alignment with these planets, influenced by their transits far, far beyond from where you are planted, and influencing you, collective, in the way that it is influencing me, due to the moment that we were born, right? Because as I said before, which clearly came out for a reason, do you hear my buddy boy snoozing over there? Oh my goodness. But as a collective, we usually like group together based off of like similar astrological harmony and karma too. Like that's in the mix too, but like it's usually due to like planets having their sort of natural flow and being on like similar wavelengths. And so us collective, like we're here probably because, like I said before, we have similar planets, or at least planets that harmonize well together, and they are all kind of fated as they orbit in the sky to undergo and experience these shifts and these transits and experience them at such specific varying degrees. And you think it's coincidental that you were born on the day that you were born, where those planets were positioned at where they're positioned, to the degree in which they were rotating? You know what I mean? Like, what? To me, that was baffling to understand that. And I think I just need to have another reappreciation for the fact that, like, that moment that we were brought into the earth, there it is, earth, is very much like a timestamp, if you will, of a planet, what the planets were doing. We're each little timestamps of what the planets were doing at a very specific moment in life. And there's a story to that. And there's maybe some people out there who believe that there's a little bit of prophecy to that. I feel like, that's worth looking into. 12/12 is my birth date. And I understand now a little bit more about that date now more than I ever did, in a very interesting way, and what people who are born on that day tend to face in life. And it's really interesting because, yeah, you're being asked to have patience right now. Especially just, as you give yourself more love, spend, time literally finding healthy and beautiful unconditional love. And my favorite way to do this is with my deeply comfortable snoring friend, Troy Boy. And they have such a healing, loving presence to them, 222 on the timestamp, that really offers us this sort of like ability to, love a little deeper in ourselves. And, right now the heart feels a little frozen. It feels a little guarded, closed off, wanting to open up, but just this feeling of needing to be cautious. Right now, Spirit is saying, find out more information. People might have more things to tell you. And you can actually maybe expect to hear from somebody soon. Your angels, your ancestors, and your guides are really looking to clear a pathway for what you're looking for to happen. But it's just not the right time at the moment, and you're feeling like you just need some more information. And it feels as though interesting. It just feels as though like trying to open yourself up right now, because we said this is all starting from matters of the heart. So there's someone who, either that person that you are involved with or other people who are, influencing your heart space. And I want to influence is a huge word that wants to come out right now. Noticing what's influencing you, who has influence over you, and cut the fucking cord, bro. I cannot be any more specific about that. Like, evil eye is out here twice, and I've been clasping it quite frequently throughout this reading. So, you know, your angels, your ancestors, your guides are here watching over you and protecting you, and they want to, there's just like this indication that someone here has been praying, and like they want to nurture those prayers. But sometimes, you know, it's more helpful to pause and be still, especially if you're feeling this sort of, oh, hello, good morning. Yes, I said good morning, don't come for me, okay? I can't get on the Grand Rising train. I'm gonna have to find something else. I start with high vibrations, how about that? And, you know, then don't overwork it. Don't overstress yourself. If you're feeling frozen, like, nurture nurture and regulate your nervous system. And if you feel like something is going to stir the pot, like, there is hope in this situation. There's a indication here of feeling at a distance from something, and something's out of reach, maybe physically or emotionally distant, but you need to just surrender to this process. There's a weird sign here for gold digger, like money might be influencing someone's actions. I don't know I don't really want to. I was going to like try to pull more on that, but I just feel like that energy is really a waste of time. And it just seems like it's kind of, it's like that's just not really something you're focused on right now anymore, or giving any more energy to, or whatever. But yeah, there is an indicator here to just be patient. Good things come to those who wait. And honestly, the card here, not to scare the shit out of you, but it says just a few more months. If you're really wanting something specific, or if this is something regarding like heart healing, like, months sounds like a long time. In my eyes, I'm like, oh, it's gonna hurt for months, like, fuck. But ultimately, this is a time to really grieve and mourn the identity that you were clung onto for so long. And once you've really fully let that go, then I think things can kind of move in the direction you're looking for. Sometimes, you know, with all of these planets going retrograde, and what that means is their pace changes, the speed changes in which they're orbiting, and it looks as though they're going backwards in the sky, but they're not. To many people's dismay, that's not what's actually going on. But this is kind of the underlying energies. Like, you're going to have to look backwards. You're going to have to reflect and look at what wasn't working, right? And it's a lot right now around identity and who you really know yourself to be, what things you align with, what things you value, and, you know, what your values are. And this is going to really be influenced a lot through March, right? We have eclipses, which is a lot about releasing and letting go. And sometimes, you know, as human 3D beings, we want to just purge the physical stuff and let go of a lot of physical things and think like that's going to help us. And maybe it will. But right now, I think our collective is really undergoing more so a spiritual, emotional, mental purge. I went through like a digital purge the other day. I literally was clearing house, baby, like clearing house, like ruthlessly, because who even are you people? Like, who even are you? And I made the decision to finally leave OF. I'm not going to get into that in this audio, but I will talk about that very soon. And that was really no shame in my game, okay? So best believe this is a protected space. I really am just being very, very cutthroat about just how much access I am giving people in my life. And I mean this even so, like, with my circle, there's a lot of stuff that just hasn't been reciprocated, unfortunately, and just having that realization for myself is going to allow me to not necessarily end any relationships, but be a little bit more considerate about creating new friendships that have been flourishing and watering those relationships a little bit more, because everybody goes through things and has things going on in their lives, and I'm very understanding of that. So like, I'm not necessarily saying like I'm gonna exile anyone out of my life, but there are just a lot of people that were just kind of not even prominent figures in my circle, but just kind of popped in when we're convenient for them. And honestly, that's just kind of hurtful, because I really I would like to be a part of my people's highs and lows. So even if they were pulling away when they were in a low vibration or something of that matter, and I've done this too, I have a tendency to do that. It feels hurtful, because it's like, come to me, like, let me be there and hold space for you and witness you in this, and let you know that you're worthy and accepting just as you are anyway. And because that's sort of the nature of how someone handles things, it means that they might not really always feel available to do the same for you. So that's kind of where my head has been at, and just like really noticing those types of connections, because that's really what I'm needing in this time and space, especially as I am pulling away, like I said, to kind of shed my skin and grieve and all of that. But as I reemerge and really, gut space, like share those experiences and share what's like coming through for me and what I'm having a challenge with and what I'm, feeling like I need support around, like I deserve to receive that, because that's what I know I can give. So, there is a lot of releasing, purging, letting go energy of, like I said, a lot of emotional, energetic, digital clutter that just doesn't need to be there, especially with Mercury retrograde 333 coming up in a couple, I want to say weeks, like 2 weeks, just under maybe. We are going to definitely be reflecting back on like conversations, reflecting back on just maybe the way in which we're having conversations. This could be like, I need to reach out and call people more, or maybe, I give people too much access to me via, text messages. Like I'm always making myself available for this person's phone calls and I really shouldn't be, and whatever. So just considering your energy in those ways over the next couple weeks is going to be interesting, and you might find that the way that you are communicating through while you're going through the shedding of skin and letting go, that might be a little bit wonky, And that's why I'm saying, like, for me, it feels like it was in my best interest to kind of pull my energy back and make sense out of what I was feeling and experiencing before I would reach out and connect and like share what that experience was. Oh, hello, gut again. I am definitely, like I said, it is gonna be a purge of the mental, physical, and spiritual, and my gut is like on board with all of that, man, oh man. It's going to be a time to really trust and surrender in the process, and have a lot of faith. So we have those transits going on, like I said, all through March. Venus leaves retrograde in mid-April, okay? And by then, Mercury's shadow period is going to be ending, but Venus retrograde shadow period is going to stay with us till early May. So, you know, we have a lot of things here going on under the surface that need genuine recognition, okay? And it's not a process that you want to rush. And, you know, it's when you think about the longevity of what can come from really letting this process play out in the time and manner that it needs to, is really going to be more fruitful for you in the end. And yeah, you're being asked to really surrender, spend time near water, cleansing yourself spiritually in your showers, taking baths. Water signs are maybe being a little bit more called to do some of this work and this healing right now. So Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Cancer popped out here twice. Virgo is also influential here. Air signs might be significant, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So some of this might feel like deja vu, like, what the fuck, I'm going through this again. 2:37 on the timestamp. 37 is showing up here as I read this to you. And there's also an indication here, like, this might be something that you've experienced before, you've gone through before. The cycle might be even like related to your birthday. It feels like deja vu, and it's kind of like frustrating. But this is, like I said, a part of your journey of really figuring out who you are. A lot of 57 on the timestamp. So believe in miracles, believe in these things changing, believing that this isn't not always your story. But there is here, the infinity symbol is showing up here as a different type of cycle. It's like, instead of just repeating the same cyclical thing, it becomes a more fluid dance of growth and shift and change and transformation. And it really just depends on the way that you look at it, right? So there is this indicator here for someone needing to go through this cycle to really truly figure out who they are. And this might have a lot to do with sexuality. Ask and you shall receive. So you know, community is really important right now. Like I said before, influence is important. Who you have around you and how they influence you is really important. And I like to refer to this meme in my head where I spend a lot of time of a bowl of fruit, and there's like one rotten fruit and it's like starting to decay the bowl of fruit, and the quote above it says why it matters, you know, who you spend time around. And I think this is like very much speaking to ask and you shall receive, and then ask for help both came out. So this might be something like you are really going through like a completion of a cycle, or you've faced this cycle before. It feels like deja vu. It feels like very humbling, or maybe you're just, it's another, like if you've had an ego death before, it's like another layer of this, and it feels a little bit like deja vu. And this might be something that you genuinely need to ask for more additional help around. And don't be afraid to tell the universe in prayer exactly what you want. And again, 57 has been showing up a lot to encourage you that miracles can happen, and why shouldn't it be to you? But you have to be very discerning around what you're giving energy to and your community at the moment. Even if you have a really great community, like I said, if you're shedding skins, if you're still relearning like who you are in this very moment, time, and space, you just want to make sure that you're aligning with these people, because I don't know, for me sometimes, even if they're wonderful people, they're just on a different wavelength than I am, and I need to make sure that I align with people who feel nurturing and good and honor like other aspects of myself as well. And this is give me one moment. I know this is a really long reading, but this is where we're at, friends. You need to cut cords with something specifically that was involving lust. It could also be involving like something that was going on around the Aries full moon, which would have been like October. It could be something that was like, again, involving like that sexual center of the body. So it could be a trauma. It could be something like a past experience. It could be like a new way that we're looking at ourselves sexually, and just a whole new energy to your sexuality. This is asking you to, like, you're not bewitched. Like, no one has power over I know this is such a random ass way to talk about this, but this is what's coming through, and you know that I'm just gonna keep it 100. It's not like you're bewitched. Like, you're not in loss of control of yourself. You always will have like your own empowering energy to you, and it's just time for you to reconnect with that. Yeah. And ground yourself and know, just take things one day at a time. If this is like a thing that keeps coming up from a trauma response, ancestral trauma might even be the thing here. Mother wounds might be showing up with this, of like, you just seen this go, on through your lineage, like generation after generation after generation. And like, it is prophesized that you show up and you really actually be the one in your lineage to heal from this and to really like end the cycle and end the cycles of suffering and the cycles of just feeling like it's never ending, and really tap into more of like that infinity sign, which is like your infinite potential. Okay, so there is an energy here of recovery, and this comes with deep commitment in whatever way that means to you. And this is something, like I said, that might take some time to like actually come into fruition and see the genuine outcome. But if you're taking things one day at a time, those days really start to quickly stack up, okay? Try to have a really grounded and centered standpoint on your situation. Remember, it's okay if you don't know really what to do yet, if you're feeling like this call through this 3-3 portal, to just be still and to feel the like really start of this shift in identity and the shedding of skin, that's really going to be affirmed with our first eclipse. And that's going to be let me double check. Okay, yeah, mid-March, so 13th. That to me didn't sound right because I know we have Mercury retrograde going on, but it's just all happening all at once. So yeah, that's really going to be a time when you maybe want to just intentionally be doing a release ritual or some kind. Do something to like physically release energy or to purposefully release something, because this is going to be such a it has the potential to be a really heightening day for whatever it is that you are trying to step into, this new version of yourself that you're aligning with and emerging into. So you might as well use it to propel you on your journey forward instead of like confuse you or overwhelm you or set you back. So I'm definitely going to be doing an eclipse reading very soon, but because I am very much shedding my skins at the moment and very much grieving a lot of different components to my life. Like when I say everything all at once, baby, do I mean everything all at once? What it is like coming out of left field, the things that needed resolution in my life that I didn't even think about. And that is really and truly like what I mean by the things coming up under the surface, because we have Venus, planet of connections, values, investments, whether that's financial or otherwise, doing her retrograde dance. And then you have Saturn, the planet of karma, taking its place next to her. And it's like, let's truly revisit what has been really keeping us back and really holding our heart from experiencing, what it needs to open fully and receive and connect on a deep and meaningful way. And even if you find yourself to be somebody who like is very social or charming or like the life of the party, like there's still going to be times when you need to just open up even deeper and feel that love like even more authentically than you were prior, right? Like the version of yourself, you just shed that skin and you're stepping into another version of yourself, and maybe that version needs to be loved in a different way and experienced in a different way in order for you to really feel like you're having that deep and meaningful connection. Like, that is subject to change, and you're always allowed to ask for that sort of love and ask for, you know, the people in your life to meet you with that. Yeah, and just trust your journey right now. You know, you're always on the right path. 57 showing up again. Trust in your journey right now. This is really going to be such an interesting time for us collective, and you know, more than anything, like, I literally everything all at once, like, so much is going on for me in this time and space of, like, and not in like a cute, fun, like, oh my God, I've got so much coming up, but more like, oh my God, so much is showing up, like, inside of myself from my past and from people, like, popping up with freaking concerns from such and such time ago. And it's like, oh my God, like, what, like, why is all of this becoming, you know, it's coming into my awareness right now when I'm feeling these feelings and feeling myself, like, having this humbling experience of, you know, oh, that's a new way to look at myself. There's some different angles to myself that I was not really expecting, and having to work with that. So trust in that journey, trust in what you're letting go, especially if you can do that in an intentional way. What you're releasing is being shown to you under this really wild March 3rd portal. And just know that you have all my lovin', okay? I'll talk to you soon. Oh, 111. I like the sound of that.